Now it's time for RTB 101. This is the segment where we talk about practical questions to equip our viewers to share their faith with their friends and family more effectively. I'm here with Dr. Ross, and Hugh, there are a couple of creatures in the book of Job that I would like to know more about. That is the Leviathan and the Behemoth. Now, these sound like really scary animals with the bones like bronze, and they breathe fire. And are these actual living creatures, or are they something mythological that the writer made up?
They're actually living creatures, and yes, they're very terrifying. You need to read it in the larger context. It's talking about the soulish animals that God designed to relate to us and serve and please us. But it's making the point that some are more difficult to tame than others. These are the two most difficult to tame of all. And if you're not careful, they're going to do you real harm.
It sounds like it.
Well, for centuries, Christian scholars have concluded that this must refer to the crocodile and the hippopotamus. If you read the description of the behemoth, it's clearly not a carnivore, it's a vegetarian. But when you get close to it, it gets territorial and it's going to do you some damage. I've been to Africa several times, and I've noticed that the crocodiles like to hang around the hippos because they know that people are not going to be able to see the hippos. They kind of submerge themselves in muddy water, so they're hard to see. But when you come into their territory, they're going to capsize your boat, and the crocodiles get lunch.
Now, it seems to me that the pictures of hippos I've seen have been cute and adorable, like you see with children's books and, on Noah's Ark. And so it's not true. Hippos are...
They're incredibly dangerous creatures.
Really?
Unless you raise the hippo from the time it's born. Like, say, if the mother hippo dies in birth, and then humans raise that baby hippo, the hippo will bond with the humans, and they can become a pet. But it's extraordinarily difficult to tame it. That's about the only way you're going to do it. Same thing with a crocodile. The only way you're going to tame it is to take it the moment it comes out of its egg. You want to handle it every day, and you don't want to miss a day. That's how difficult it is to tame. And there's very few of these creatures that have ever been tamed. But notice how the book Job ends. It says, notice it takes a higher being to tame these creatures. Likewise, it takes a higher being to tame us, because it says, there's one animal you've never been able to tame. You've not been able to bring humility to a proud human heart. Just like it takes a higher being to tame the hippo, it takes a higher being to tame a human being. And some of us are more challenging to tame than others. Some of us are like the crocodile and the behemoth. And I think what confuses people is how frequently Job, in those two texts, 40 and 41, uses the word as and like. So it's highly metaphorical. And some of what you're reading there is giving you a literal description of these animals. Other passages are giving you a metaphorical description. 21 times you see the words like and as. And the metaphor is describing how you're going to feel if you have a close encounter with one of those wild creatures. You might as well, that creature might as well be breathing fire and smoke for all the good a stick is going to do in your hand to defend yourself. It might as well have bones of bronze for all the good a rock in your hand is going to do to defend yourself in a close encounter with these creatures. It's describing how you're going to feel in a close encounter.
I have friends that take this as these are dinosaurs, and I can see that from a straightforward reading of the book of Job, with the scales and with the ground shaking when they walk and the terror that they, inflict upon people, that it could be presumed that these are dinosaurs. Why do you not take that interpretation?
Well, I can see why, because a dinosaur is a terrible lizard. It's a scary creature. And I think it's the metaphorical passages. But if you take those metaphors literally, they do not fit dinosaurs. They don't fit any creature. No creature breathes fire out of its mouth. No creature has limbs of bronze. It talks about the tail swinging like a cedar tree. That's the one where it says it's got to be a dinosaur. Only dinosaurs have these gigantic tails.
Right. Well, how do you answer that?
The Hebrew word there is the word zanab, which means not just the tail part, but the entire hindquarters. Have you ever seen the hindquarters of a hippopotamus? They're enormous. And that's the weapon that a hippo uses to capsize your canoe or boat. It'll do this rapid swinging motion with its hindquarters, and it'll destroy your boat. And the crocodiles are there waiting.
Wow. Well, I have a question that beyond just the fun fact of that this could be the behemoth and the Leviathan could be the crocodile and the hippo. How can I use this to validate the validity of Scripture, to just show the validity of Scripture?
Well, the most common response I get here is, doesn't the Bible ever hint about dinosaurs anywhere? I say, well, the Bible's written for all generations. It's only going to use vocabulary that all generations can comprehend. So Neanderthals aren't mentioned, protons aren't mentioned, and dinosaurs aren't mentioned. But here's where they fit in the Bible. Psalm 104, it's a property of all life to die off, but God recreates and renews the face of the earth. And if you look at all of Psalm 104, it's talking about God packing the earth with as much life as possible, as diverse as possible. If you want dinosaurs, you have to have very large, shallow seas. You need that water to support their bodies. The only way you can have a creature that massive. So when the earth had those shallow seas, God created dinosaurs, packed the earth with dinosaurs. But notice we don't have big, shallow seas today. Biggest animal you can have on land is the elephant.
That is just absolutely fascinating.
Now, in the ocean, you got a whale.
That's true.
But it's got water.
If you'd like to hear more from Hugh, go to reasons.org and check out Hugh's blog, Today's New Reasons to Believe.